Hi everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. How are you today? It is Friday, September 29th, 2017. I'm sitting here today and I try to contemplate what I want to talk about that I feel is important. Now, I could go over what's happening with the markets and maybe I should touch on that. But what I want to talk about here is the biggest issue of them all, and that is this problem of debt, which nobody, including President Trump or anybody, wants to fix. No one wants to address the root issue here. So let me cover some market dynamics real quick, and then I'm just going to kind of go off here on a tangent, I guess. I don't script any of this stuff. I just kind of talk. So with regard to the markets here, metals are still on sale today. The dollar was a little lower earlier, not too much going on here, although I feel like it's going to fall into some pressure relatively soon, like I spoke about yesterday. Several days ago, I talked about, yesterday too, how we were having this sell-off here with regard to the debt market, and that was going to push stocks higher. Well, right now, the NASDAQ is at an intraday record high. So, just watching the way cash is flowing, you kind of know what you need to do. And all of this is well and good, and it's important to, I think at least, have a perspective on how you can take these distortions and the actions in the markets and make it work for you. Don't lay down here and get fleeced like most people are. It's a terrible thing to see, honestly. But what strikes me really is we hear about the debt problem, and we've been hearing about it from our politicians' mouths for decades. And the problem, I'm sure you're well aware of this, is not getting better. It can never get better. And that's what our politicians will not ever tell you. They can't explain to you how, without the system running the way that it does, that is, it's a debt-based economic model. If you followed my work, you know what that is. I mean, the system demands that debt be borrowed into existence in greater and greater amounts every single day that passes by, every minute of every day. It can't stop. And there's the problem that our politicians and our leaders and most people don't want to address. They don't understand this. They've been blinded. People seem to live under the illusion that we have a wealth-based system. And it's an incredible thing to just watch unfold. How most people I talk to, if I try to explain to them that we have a debt-based economic model, they look at me like I am from another planet. I don't know, maybe I am, but they have no concept whatsoever of how the system works and how this machine has to constantly be fed. It's a monster that has to constantly be fed with more and more debt. Now, this situation that we have had since the implementation of a debt-based economic model gives a false sense of security to people for a while. However, what people don't realize is on a micro scale, in other words, what's happening to them as individuals, most people live under an umbrella of this debt. And it can't stop either. It's the nature of the beast. I personally do not believe ever that we're going to get back to a wealth-based system ever again. Once we left the gold standard and we allowed world central banks to implement their product, understand, world central banks, and again, you know this if you follow my work, have one product and one product only. They can talk about whatever they want to talk about, but if it all boils down to one thing, and that is their product is debt. Central banks have to continually create more debt and more debtors for the system to function. It's debt-based at its core. Now, World central banks are never going to give up the power that they have. Again, I don't care what people want to believe. You want to be distracted by watching President Trump or some other world leader, they're puppets. These are puppets. The world is run by the banks. The world is run by the banks. They control every aspect of your life by, again, their product, which is debt. And this is a fact. It's a frightening fact. And what we need to come to terms with here is pretty simple. It won't stop. It will never stop until it's forced to stop. When the entire system comes to a grind, and I'm telling you, when that happens, it is going to be biblical. There's no other way to put this here. The debt-based economic model is responsible for the population boom that we have seen around the world. That should tell, the global debt has risen in tandem with the population. So when we cannot borrow anymore, when we reach that point of maximum saturation, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going to happen here to the global population here. It's a horrible thing to contemplate. I don't know a way to fix this because, again, our politicians, none more so at this particular point than Donald Trump, understands this concept. Now, he also understands that although he is president, he's not running the show by any measure. The banks are running the show. The bank's product is debt. They will do whatever they need to do. Kill off as many as they need to by inciting more wars. So we have to borrow more cash from the future. These natural events that occur, okay, like hurricanes and earthquakes, you know what these bankers do? They smile. Why do they smile? Because it means more of their product, debt, is going to have to be borrowed into existence. So I want you to think about that. And I've gone over the fact that they will create situations, however they have to do it, to allow this mechanism to keep going until it doesn't. We are going to hit a point of maximum saturation when we cannot borrow anymore. When individuals, when countries realize that the debt that they're holding is actually worthless. I don't know when that's going to happen. I do know it is going to happen, and that just falls back again on my premise since day one. Become your own central bank, bet against this debt. The stock market doing what it's doing right now, this is a mechanism as well. Again, there's nowhere else for investors to go. You cannot be holding a debt instrument here. And the way the cycles occur in the market, we have, if I wish I had a chart to show you, but we've seen this before. Stock market high, metals low, and then it reverses, and then it reverses. This is a cycle that goes on over and over again. We're at this cycle now where the market's high, and risk-on instruments are massively overvalued, and things like gold and silver are massively undervalued. This is going to reverse. It's going to reverse at one point. So keep that in mind too. But before I go off on a tangent with regard to that, the problem here is debt. The problem here is the world central banks, whose product is debt. We, as a people, have got to somehow, I don't know how, maybe you do, really, we have to rise up against world central banks. We have to take this control back. If we do not take this control back, I mean immediately, the problem that we have is going to get monumentally worse. It's a malignant thing that has its tentacles in everything, in everyone, in everywhere. And again, just like cancer, it's gonna wipe out a large percentage of the world's population when the credit card is maxed out, when we can no longer borrow from the future to sustain where we are. Look at the national debt here in the United States. Pretty much under every single president, maybe not everyone, but the last few, you've seen the debt double. We're at 20 plus trillion right now. So what does that tell you? By the time President Trump is out of office, it's going to double again. It's going to double again. It has to. We can't pay it off. If we were to pay it off, the system will collapse. It demands that the debt be borrowed into existence. You understand? I don't know what to say, and I wish I knew a way around this. But world central banks, their power resides in their ability to create war, to control the military, the police. This is what they do. The Federal Reserve has their own police. You know that, right? These institutions are the greatest threat to human existence. World central banks are the greatest threat to human existence. Again, why? Think about what I said. As the global debt has grown, the human population has grown in tandem with it. When we cannot borrow anymore from the future, just to sustain our current state of affairs, what do you think is going to happen to the population? I'm telling you, it's going to be biblical, people. Pandemonium in the streets, like I've been saying, when we hit this point. I don't know when that is. It's going to happen at one point. You know, it's inevitable because of the nature of the beast. But anyway, I wanted to get this out here. And if any one of you can think of a way around this, please let me know. How do we get our power back from world central banks? How do we force our politicians over there to admit the truth? That we can never stop borrowing, that we need to take back this system that we've given away. We've given away our livelihood, to private banks. These world central banks are not run by governments, they're run by private institutions. And their product is debt. Think about that. They're never going to give up this power. We've fought in wars about this, and it will never stop. Anyway, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I want us to get to, look, there's a lot of people here that follow this blog, and I'm sure a lot of you are a lot smarter than I am. And I don't know what we can do. But I know that if we don't do something, the system is going to become more malignant and get a lot worse than it is now. And we are all going to pay very dearly for this. What we've allowed to happen. We've allowed this to happen right in front of our faces. It's an incredible thing. Anyway, it's Friday, everybody, and I'm going to let you all go. And I want to thank you all just once again, with the loss of Bud Fox. Missed that guy. Anyway, before I go off on a tangent with that and get all misty, I'm going to let you all go. Have a great weekend, everyone. Be safe. And I really want you to think about what I've spoken about in this video here. Try to wake people up. I don't know how. Try to think of a way that we can maybe do something. Maybe we have reached a point where we cannot do anything anymore and we just have to go along with this. Is that possible? Is it possible, or can we grab it back? Can we get back control somehow? I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe you do. With that said, I love all of you. I mean that. And I'll see you Monday.